Hello everybody, this is Jeff Byers, your instructor for ANI 150, and this is Module 2. And I think we're on Part 3 with the UV texturing. So you guys have been doing a great job. Again, just to kind of highlight everything, we go into the UV editor. I added a automatic map to the surface of the box because it is a square object, and automatic maps mapping really does a great job with cubic objects. So if you have a cubic object, automatic map is a great place to start. So you always go up into UV, automatic mapping, click on the option box, and click reset settings. And once you do that, you click on project. Just make sure everything is set up properly. If you have issues, just always go to the edit reset settings button and close that. So the automatic mapping works great and it's fast, and the thing is, you still have to, the problem with automatic mapping is it breaks it up into two smaller pieces and it's not smart in seams. So in my UV editor you can see, let me kind of get that a little bit closer. In the UV editor we've got some really cool buttons. So this is just basic wireframe display UV shells. We've got the next one is shaded UV shells. So I can click on that, and that tells me if it's blue, it's facing the right direction. That means the UV normals are facing the right direction. Blue is correct. If I saw red, then that would be a real problem. Okay, then I would have to flip that normal over. So if you do see red, let's just say the UV shell is faced the wrong way. Let's see if I can flip that. Let me go back into my normals, and we think we have a flip normals transform. Where are you at? Flip right here. So under transform, okay, if you click on transform all the way down, we have a flip normals. Okay, let me zoom in on that a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. I can hit the F key, by the way. So the F key actually works in the UV editor too as well. So if I flip this, ooh, guess what happens? It turns red. So that's what it looks like, and you want to look for that. Anything that looks red, that's not good, meaning that it'll flip all your textures around and you won't know what the heck's going on. So if you see that, click on it and just click on flip. Okay, very, very cool. So as we move forward, you're gonna be able to learn a lot about these tools. I've just shown you basic tools that you need, but you will run into tools that you'll need to use later on. So let's talk more about texture space. Now notice when we did click on UV mapping, it put it into this square, and you can see this unit square is a 2D unit square. It's flat. So we only see two axes. Okay. One is U, up and down, and then, or excuse me, U, which is this way, back and forth, horizontal, and then vertical is U, or V. So V is vertical, U is horizontal. So if we go up here, you can see that the units start at 0 to 1. These are just basic UV units. Okay? U being this way, horizontal, V being vertical. Okay? From 0 to 1, 0 to 1. That's the space of one UV map. Okay? Normally, we would just use one UV map and pack all of these UVs in there. Okay? So how would I do that if I just wanted to use one UV map? Well, I would go in here and I would go to layout, and a layout at the very bottom I see here, as you can see, arrange and layout. Let's bring all these back up again. So if I go to arrange and layout, you can see I've got orient shells, stack shells, and all of these other things that we can use to stack and move things around, arrange things. And then the layout is the last thing you're going to do. You're going to lay that out into one space. So if I click on this, I can always undo it, so I'm going to click on it. If I click on that, with all the shells selected, it will pack it the way it feels it is best completed. So it will pack this shell the best way it can. Well, that's a problem, because even though it packed it, yes, it packed it, I don't know where things are at. I didn't pack it myself. So if I want to go in there and texture something in Photoshop, I don't know what is what. Now I know the shapes of things, but if you have a bunch of things that are the same shape, it's impossible to know unless you pack it yourself, unless you remember how you packed it too. Okay, so I'm going to go Control Z back. All right. So Maya does the best it can to pack, and yes, if you're in a hurry and you got to get something done really super quick. But the thing is, you're still it's a lot of guesswork to know what object is what, where it's at. Is that the left side or is that the right side? You'd have to go in there and find out by clicking on the shell. Okay, so that happens to be the left side, and this happens to be the right side. You could probably go in there and figure it out by just clicking on the pieces, right? But the thing is it the way you want it to be packed? Is it practical? Notice that when I did the automatic packing, the layout, if I clicked on the layout, that it packed everything the way it felt. It packed it the way the program. It's just kind of a 0 to 1 binary thing that it did. So when I go back, there we go. If I go in here and pack it, you can see that I've got these over packed the way I want to, like they are overlaying each other, and that's what I wanted. But if you go in here and I do a automatic pack, which is an automatic layout, you can see it separated all these pieces again, which I didn't want to do. So there are real problems and issues if you let Maya pack it for you. I prefer to pack these things myself. Okay, so moving forward, so that is tells you which normals are reversed. Okay, if I click off that and click on this tool here, this icon here, this tells me about UV distortion. So I'm going to click off of this guy right here. Let's go back into here and click on this guy. So I'm clicking on the wireframe, and then I'm going to click on the distortion tool. This tells me the distortion. Okay. Now the only way to know if something is distorted is to click on the checkerboard map, and this checkerboard map allows me to see that we've got stretching. So anything red is showing stretching. So if I go in here to UV shell, click on this UV shell, see if I can find it. There it is. I'm going to see some stretching in this area right here, and you can see that stretching right here. Okay, all right. So there's our stretching. Okay, the way to fix it, let me see where it is with the UV shell. Let me go to the face of it. See if I can select on the face, and there it is. There's the face of that one, that particular face. And you can do that if you're not exactly sure where it is on your model. You can right click over it and go to face mode and click on it, and it will show up. Okay, it'll just show up. Okay, so you can see there's some compression there. Okay, it's red. Alright, so let me turn that off. Okay, and so what we can do is, if we see red areas, it's really easy to fix. Okay, so what I do is I right click over it and go to UVs, select the UVs like this, hit the W key, and start moving it up until it turns white. Okay, alright, cool. So that's how easy it is. Now in some instances it's not that easy, but in this instance it was easy. Now if I go down farther, you start seeing how bright red it gets. Okay, alright, so I'm just going to pull these out. I'm going to do them all together. So I'm going to Control Z back. Because I have them side by side, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these together. Okay, and I'm going to just pull those until they're white, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom here. That makes it much easier for me to fix these issues that I see here. I'm going to do the same thing to this side over here. Okay, and this side over here. Okay, so these pieces here, okay, what I could do is go into the shell and just move these up so they're lined up really nicely. And this one's just down a little bit. We're pretty close. There we go. And so I'm going to do the same thing with these guys right here. And I'm going to move this up a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to go to UVs, okay, and I'm going to select the top parts here and just move it up until it becomes white, okay, and do the same thing down here. Move these until it becomes white, okay, and to continue that process for all the pieces that have some stretching issues. There we go, so it's stretching, there you go. And let's go ahead and do these guys. Let's do these. I suppose we could do these guys at the same time. Hold down the shift key, here we go, and move these together. And I suppose we could do that little part right down here too. There we go. Let's go ahead and do both of those at the same time. I'm not sure if they're the same, they have the same stretching issues, but it looks like they're a little bit red. So I'm going to pull those out, and I have to be careful. This will turn white before the other one does. Okay, so I'm going to hold the control key down and deselect those and continue moving these out until there you go. That looks good. So I'll do these as well. Let's go all the way down and open those up a little bit. There we go, that looks good. Click off of that, and then I'm going to do this one by itself probably. Let's go back into UVs here. There we go. And just do this one. I can still see a slight red on this one. A slight red on that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue pulling that out a little bit more. There we go. That looks good. Those are white, and then we'll do these real quick, and this one real quick. Okay. We have compression or stretching right here as well, and right here. And I still see it here. It's weird. There you go. Okay, great. We have still compression right here. Believe it or not, I can still see it just a little bit. There we go. I want it perfectly white, and that looks really good. Okay, we're about as good as we can get. So that's how you can deal with stretching, and if you still see issues in areas that you need to fix, then go ahead and fix them. Let's see here. We have some very slight stretching here. Let's see if I can just kind of square that up a little bit better. Here we go. I'm just kind of moving this up and these out a little bit. Just trying to get that getting those looking a little bit better. They're just a little bit stretched. Some of those turned out pretty good, but still need some finessing. There we go. And just kind of finessing these out a little bit. I know it seems strange to do this, but if you guys didn't notice, I am kind of a perfectionist, but that's how your work looks good and a little bit better than other people's. Again, I'm trying to be humble here, but I think a lot of people just try to rush as fast as they can to get to the finish line, and they don't realize that just taking some time to do these little things can make a huge difference in your work. Okay, you can see that I'm still fanatically trying to get these, because I still see, I think it's hard to see. Maybe I'm a little colorblind. I don't know. But that red area, I keep seeing these red areas. I think if you look at it too long, you start seeing things in red parts. But anyway, so the idea here is that I can pack this shell. So I'm going to go back, right click over it and go back to shell. And I can start packing this stuff myself if I wanted to. I can go in here and just select these guys and start packing this. I know which one is which is kind of nice. Let's say this is the right side, and I try to keep that the same way. So I'm going to pack these guys right above the other ones, almost like it's built, So that makes sense to me, but the computer can't do that because it doesn't make sense to the computer. And then I can do, this one should be over here, and this one should be over here, right? And this one should be over here, and I could even lay it out to where it really makes sense. So I could take these guys, move it over, and move this one over like this, and put this piece right here, right in between the two. That makes sense to me. And then this one over here, right? And then this one over here. And that makes great, a lot of sense to me, right? Yeah. And then we have the same thing over here. We could put that over here, and we could place this one over here, right? That makes sense to me. Here we go. Of course, we could place these guys over here somewhere, and and continue working like this. Continue. Let's say this piece is over here, like that. It's laid out. We don't want it overlapping though, right? We never want things to overlap unless we want them to overlap, and it's okay if I don't want these overlapping. Maybe I want to put a number, like a number 1 over here, and then something else over here, or a decal over here. If you overlap them, both sides will have the same decal. If I put this one over top of it, right? It'll share the same decal. I want to have as much freedom as I can with these. Now these guys here, I think I want to flip these around. I think that's the wrong direction that I want them to be. So I'm going to flip these around. Here's another way. It's rotation. Okay, so in transform, I can rotate. And I didn't show you this before because I wanted you to kind of force you guys to use the rotate tool, right? And show you a different way of doing it. But here's another way you can do it. You can rotate this object 90 degrees, and you can type in what you want, 45, 90, whatever. 90 seems to be the fastest way to get those turned around. And I can place these in here. So this is how you would pack just one shell. And you're more than welcome to pack one shell. But the funny thing is that now that we have the advent of UDOMs, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pack shells. In fact, I want these to be placed on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these together, and I'm going to go ahead and stack those shells. There we go. That makes sense to me to stack those shells just like we did over here. I'm going to move those shells over here, and then we've got these two guys over here. Alright, so and I'm going to go ahead and rotate these guys. So I'm going to rotate these 90 degrees. I don't really think it matters, but I'm going to rotate those 90 degrees. And I am also going to stack those together. Okay, so those are great. Alright, so those are all stacked together too. So there's a lot of empty space here, right? So what can I do to really accentuate this shell to be as efficient as possible? This is kind of a great, so you can see that that's, I wouldn't say that's sloppy. I would just say I'm wasting a lot of UV space, especially when we consider that texture space is really essential right now in gaming to efficiently pack a UV space. Now, what if I told you there was a way that we could pack any way we want and use as much space as we wanted to and be just as efficient? And this is called UDIM tiling. UDIM. Using UDIMs for tiling. How would you do that? Well, this is your normal way of packing, and up till like a couple years ago, this was the only way to pack. Okay? Now I could be really efficient with this packing, right? Which means that I would want to take one of these guys here and then expand it, okay, like scale it as far as I can to use the UV space more efficiently. Let's just say I expand about like that. But what I would do is I would want to go in here. If I was packing it myself, I want to go in here to Texel Density. The problem with this is, as you can see, if I click on this checkerboard again, you can see that I've got a lot more efficiency, meaning that I have a higher resolution texture map right here than I do right here. Okay? Because the cubes are smaller. It's telling me I have a higher resolution. These cubes are bigger, lower resolution. Higher, lower. We don't want that. We want them all to be the same resolution. Before I scaled it, we had the same resolution all over, and that's what we're looking for. That's called Texel Density. The Texel Density is the same on the object. Okay? And a lot of gaming companies and texture artists work very hard to have uniform texel densities. So we have texel densities that are the same between each object, in fact, and the same scene. Okay? You ever played a game where there's a really high resolution object and then the floor is really pixelated or looks weird? It's because the texel density isn't the same. And these are like AAA games that you see. It's laziness, or they just ran out of time. Okay? So the idea is to have the same texel density. So if I scale this up, okay, at a certain degree, then I have to scale everything up. Okay? So how do we do that easily? Well, Maya allows you to do that fairly easily. So what I can do is I'm going to turn that off because it's hard to see what I'm doing. Is I can go in here and go to Texel Density. That is under the transform. So if you open your transform up, go next to Texel Density and click on Get. And it's changed it to 1.5225. Okay? All I have to do is select everything else and click Set. And it takes a little time, but there it is. Okay? So what I can do now is repack everything. Okay? Right. That's kind of a pain, but I would just basically move things away from each other just a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. Okay? And see if this will work. Okay? Right? Or I can do this. So I can move everything out and then pack everything back in, or I can do this. Go back to what I had, right? Everything, right? Put this back in there. Okay? And what I tell students, this is a little trick I learned. Okay? This is the way I want to pack it. I'm going to get that really super close to the edge there. I can't go over that. Super close to that one. Super close to this one. Okay? And just pack it in the corner. And pretty soon you'll see why. Just pack that in there really, really close. And almost like they're touching, but not. You can't have them touching each other. Okay. And just pack those in as far as you can to the corner here. Okay. Pack that in close as I can. Alright, you can see I'm going to select everything and move that over to the side like that. Move these over to as far as I can over here like that. And then move everything else just as close as I can. And pack these just the best that I can here. And I got a little more work I can do here. Okay, I'm going to take these guys, move them a little closer, pack them really close together. Okay, you can see I did this pretty quickly. Okay, there we go. Great, perfect. So that's even better. Okay, so now I take it like this, and this would be even easier. Now I know everything's the same, right? I select everything, and then I scale it, and then I move it. Okay, and you can see that I'm reaching my limits here. Okay, let me scale it a little bit more. Now could we get more out of this? Probably not if we want to keep the same exact texel density. Now I could go in here and take this, maybe pack it a little bit better. If I take this and I move it, or I take these two and I scale that in just ever so slightly, but then I'm changing the texel density. Is that okay to do? Yes and no, because these are areas I don't really see that much. Okay, so I can sacrifice that texel density because that area is in between. It's not showing. It's not a real big part of the object itself. So can I sacrifice that? Probably. Will I really see that? No, not from this distance. If it was showing like a front huge area, yes, I would see that texel density problem. Okay, so I could take this and even probably pack these guys individually in here. Okay, and I'm using my texture space better. Okay, these can be moved a little bit closer together. Okay, because that's an empty space in there, and it's okay to do that. Packing these in here is a good thing to do. Okay, that's okay. All right. Am I going to be really super picky? Well, because it's gaming, I'm forced to, right? I'm forced to be a little pickier with you guys with this stuff. But if I can't pack it any better than this, so you can see we're running into issues here. I'd have to rotate this piece to get more space out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate these pieces. I don't think it's a problem rotating. In fact, I probably should anyway. And then pack these guys. I don't want to change the way these are arranged, so I'm going to have to pack these guys like this. Okay. And like this. Okay, so now we're going to move everything in there as close as I can. And in fact, I'm probably going to take this guy here, everything here, and move it into the space. There we go. So now I'm going to take this and move this as close as I can without touching anything. There we go. That looks good. And so here we go. This is it. So I'm going to scale a little bit more. And you can see I'm starting to run into issues on both the top and the bottom. So that's it. That's the best I can do. Literally. I don't think I can do any better. Maya certainly couldn't do any better. I don't think Maya could pack this any better. Let's take a look and see if it can pack it better. So, if I go into get, just for fun, if I go into get, I got it at 1.4961, which is amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to save my work. Why wouldn't I? Because I am about as close to packing this as perfect as possible, as close as possible. See if Maya can do any better. 23. Okay. So I'm going to save that. Yep. Okay, that's really good. I think. Let's see if Maya can do it better, just for fun. So let's go into. So I'm at 1.4961. Higher is better. Okay, higher is better. That's a higher resolution. Okay, higher is better. So let's take a look. Okay, let's take this, select the shells, move them out. I've got it saved, so I'm not too worried about it if I make a mistake or whatever. Select all the shells and lay out. There we go. That's Maya's way of laying it out. Again, it's just willy-nilly, has no idea what's happening. Let's take a look at what Maya has done as far as UV shells and UV space. Okay, I see a lot of UV texture space wasting. It's wasted a lot of UV textures. I can just tell by looking at it. So I'm going to get it. Oh, 1.21. Mine was better. Mine was at 1.49. Okay? So people, you as an artist, can do better than what Maya can do. I mean, Maya couldn't top it, plus it put them all over the place. Mine was thoughtful in how I put everything in. Okay, Maya just randomly slapped everything together. Yeah, it's faster. It's a push of a button, right? Took me some time, but mine was much better. Okay, Control Z back. There it is.